survive by just playing all the time. And so we lived in a van most of the time. And it was America that we played in the most. We didn't always have the money to go to Europe or anywhere else. That's why we never came here. We just never had the money. Anyway, America was our place. We were like a shark in that if we stop moving, we die. And so New York City was one of those cities where we could play all the time. There's so many people, such a rabid interest in our kind of music. We could play 2 to 4 times a year, and no one would ever say, "You come here too often." They'd go, "Yay!" And every time we played, it was an experience. It was never a normal show. Like we just play a bunch of shows, and okay, no one dies. New York was always eventful because it was always packed. The audience was always completely nuts. And so one time we're playing away. I think the Peppermint Lounge, I think was the name of the venue. It's probably long gone. Anyway, we're playing away. It's like this massive sea of young humanity, mostly male. And our clientele had, very short hair, very few brain cells, and a lot of aggression, a lot of hormonal frenzy, and a lot of testosterone. So below us is like, teen boy slaughter. These guys are killing each other. Thankfully, they're not killing us yet. And people are going off, and this massive man jumps up on stage. This, huge young man. He's got a black flat top, a military cut, green trench coat, army pants, and big black army boots. And he takes these oblong, laps around the track, like he's getting momentum. We've seen this before, so I get on the drum riser, give him room, everyone gets away, and he falls off the stage. Veteran concert goers underneath him see the light go a little different over their head. They know they do not have time to look up. They know that something is dropping feet per second over their head, and they have no time to move. So you see these concert goers, their hair sees the lights differentiate. They don't even look up, except for one girl, standing like a mere mortal bullseye in the middle of a barren dance floor. And she had half a nanosecond of, "Where did everyone? Where?" And this big fat bastard lands on her with the entirety of his body weight. And for a split second, no one moves. He is face down, spread eagle, the flaps of his army coat obscuring the girl completely. Like, is she there? Maybe she turned into dematerialized matter. And we're on the stage looking down like, oh, because the guy's not moving. Like this whale, like, out. And finally all these knuckleheads come over like, "Ready? And then they roll this big bastard off. And the girl is underneath on her back, like breathing, like she's left the room, the body has taken over. Like when you pull a fish out of the water, the fish are really not aware of what they're doing. Like the body's going, survive. She was wide-eyed. It was terrifying. They pick her up and shake her. She refocuses, raises her hand and waves and staggers away. And everyone's like, "Yeah! She survived! The big fat bastard! Now play, you pussies!" We go back to work. And so we're like, "Yay!" Because that must have hurt. I mean, he's a big dude, and he went through the air, and she's like a bony young thing. And so we're back in New York months later. We'd forgotten about this. That was like 3 stabbings ago. And we're back in New York, and it's like sound check time. It's like 4 in the afternoon. It's a place like this. It's just a stage and a door in a bar. And we're about to start playing some songs for sound check. There's no one there but band and crew. And a girl walks across the empty dance floor, comes right up to the front of the stage, and she looks up at me. She goes, "Hello." I said, "How do you do?" Because I'm polite like that. And she said, "Remember me?" I said, "No." "Well, where would I remember you from?" She said, "Remember the last time you guys played in New York? This guy got on." I'm like, "Oh! Are you the girl that landed on by that big fat bastard?" She said, "I am." I said, "Damn! We were so worried about you. We all saw it from way up here. I mean, it was awful. It's like I saw a wide shot of it. It was terrifying. I'm so glad you're okay." And she said, "Well, I'm not exactly okay." And I forget which eye she referenced, but she reached up to one eye and she pulled it down. She said, "This is a glass eye. He knocked my eye out." Yeah, and all of us, we were speechless. Because there's nothing you can say that puts an eye back in someone's head. You can't go, because sorry isn't really cutting it. And we just stood there like, and finally I said, I'm really sorry about that. I mean, wow, I'm sorry. And she said, don't worry about it. It's cool. I'll see you tonight. And she turned around and left. And to my knowledge, I've never met this girl again. This is a long time ago. And that made me have to take stock of all this stuff that we were getting up to. You know, all this wild, frolicsome activity. And as your mother told you many, many times when you went off to the schoolyard, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye. I'm not. Well, Mama knows something. And it really made me see that there's some consequences to this all this activity. It comes with, consequences. And it was a drag. I mean, she didn't deserve that. I mean, she came to our show and she lost an eye. And she was cool enough to go, hey, that's how it is. I don't know how I would have handled that had it happened to me. I think I might have had that guy's jacket, his boots, and the rest of him as a rug. Anyway, that happened. And we were back in New York months later, yet again, in the endless lap that Black Flag did around America. And we're in New York again. It's a bigger place. It's a sea of humanity. People are going off. It's like very skinhead, our crowd, very short-haired crowd, a lot of fists going. And right at the front of the stage, before the days of barricades, these people put their beer and their elbows up on the front of the stage and pound on the singer's feet, light up the singer's nutsack with a butane lighter, put keys, cigars, and cigarettes into the singer's legs. He still has the scars, mental and physical. And so people are doing their thing, except at the front row, there are these 4 or 5 young, long-haired guys, and they're completely nuts. I look down and go, yeah! Wow, okay, you're into it. And even the skinheads are leaving you alone, because they're just just going off. Like, wow, okay, some hippies like us. Who knew? And so we finish the show, and we go staggering backstage to this airless, awful, dank room. And in those days, there was not a backstage toilet very often. There was never a backstage shower. The first time I took a shower after a show at a venue was summer 1984 in Sweden. We came off stage, we look around the dressing room, there's a shower. I can shower? It was a revelation. Because usually you would live in your sweat for days at a time. And often we'd do a show, you'd be soaking wet, and you'd play in your clothes. And you'd go off to the van and get in the van and drive to some other forsaken place to go get abused by another 50 people. And it would be all of us in the back, all spooned up. And if you can remember any of the lineups of the band Black Flag, there's a drummer. His name was Bill Stevenson. He's also in a band called The Descendants. We called him the Drum Ogre. He's like, 5'5", this wide, covered in fur. And would just destroy drums. His hero was Bill Ward of Black Sabbath. And so he'd be like, whoa! He was a monster drummer then. He's a monster drummer now. I'd always sleep with Bill. I always ended up in the back of the van with Bill. 2 men, just never bathing. And I would stick to Bill's back fur. But we'd be all spooned up, cozy. And, you fall asleep and all of a sudden you're like, I'm hugging Bigfoot. Like, you wake up, many mornings I would wake up with my face in Bill's back fur and acne. Like, oh, ew. It was such where I'd have to take my beard off his back. Like, I hate my life. Anyway, sorry, New York. And so we stagger back to this airless room, and we're sitting there there's no water, there's no nothing. And there's a knock on the door. And the band instinctively moves to the back of the room, because what we know is not on the other side of the door is a whole bunch of half-naked nympho chicks who want to have an orgy with us, because that never, ever, ever happened to us. And so we figured it's some people that beat us up. So of course everyone in the band goes, Henry, you answer the door. Fine, I'm the tip of the spear. And so I go to the door okay, here comes another ass whooping for me. And I open the door and it's this adult. An adult man, one of those silk, I do cocaine and manage band, silk bomber jackets. And he's got rock and roll hair, and he's really aggressive. And he's putting his index finger into my chest. I'm a big rock schmo, see? I push a lot of rocks around, see? I got a band out here who wants to meet you, and you're going to meet him, see? There's a band out here, and I'm going to meet him. And before I can say, what do you mean? He kind of throws me to the side, and this band, I guess, walks in. It was the sweaty long hairs from the front of the stage. And we're standing all cramped in this small, airless room. They're looking at us. We're looking at them. No one's saying anything like, okay, so you're a band? And this guy says, this is metallica! Oh, okay. And so, they seemed like nice enough lads. I shook their hands. I sat the drummer down and gave him a few business models that he might want to use for success. Yeah, well, careful now. I broke out the guitar, showed him a few chord changes I thought might suit them. Jotted down a few lyrical ideas, men, sand, whatever. And shook their hands, wished them well, and sent them on their way. I read in the Wall Street Journal that they're doing pretty well. Anyway, that happened. And there was a lot of those growing up very quickly moments in that band. Because I joined the band when I was very, very young. And all of a sudden I was seeing really intense things. And a lot of people I was meeting were dying of drug overdose, of suicide, of misadventure. And I'd go off on tour and come back, and you found out the nice girl with the cool tattoo who wrote that great poetry had jumped off a building and killed herself. Just crazy stuff like that. So by the time I was in my mid-20s, I had seen quite a bit. Like some of you have seen quite a bit, I can tell. I walked the streets. I got here yesterday. I walked this neighborhood for hours last night. I feel so bad for the women in Belfast. Because Saturday night, I saw you all dolled up, lots of leg, the high heels, the short skirts, nice. And you were appealing to who? These guys? Like these... men here look like criminals. You see these men pinching their scrotums and scratching their faces with those tracksuit pants. You're like, oh God, you got a pocket full of meth, and like you'll stab me. And these guys, they look so scary. They're like, and like you women, you're like, yeah. Boy, you look at that guy and go like, oh, really? With him? Make that a double. I have no idea how you do it. And I stood outside of this place last night, and the doors had opened and closed. And every time the doors would open, it would be a different cover song. And I went like through the world of rock music by listening to this venue last night. Like the door would open, ding, going down, party time. Door closes, Bowser throws someone out. Some stupid young man got argumentative with this elderly security guy out front. And what I mean elderly, he's killed at least 50 people. He was like the senior security guy. Maybe he's here tonight. He had like his finger in this kid's face, which is like the last warning you get before BAM! And he's like, really? Really? Is it really worth getting your nose pressed into your throat to be right about this? Go home. And the door opens again. Welcome to the jungle. And the door opens 3 minutes later. Might as well jump. And then everyone's like about to vomit. And then they stagger over to that chips place. And it's like, I'm full of beer and sexual tension, and I'm going to eat a bunch of hot grease. And I'm like, oh, here it comes. I stood out there until about 1:30, and you people were howling like maniacs. Woo! Incredible. I have no idea where I was going with that. Oh yeah, growing up. So I'm saying, the tough streets of this town, I'm sure you've seen plenty, as have I in my short life. And when I moved out to Los Angeles,